Welcome to SorWil Community Solutions, where we talk about what's going on in our community. And today we have a really special guest with April McCoy, who is running for Lieutenant Governor for the great state of Kansas. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me today. This is actually my first interview that I've done. So.
Wow, we're touched that you allowed us to be your first interview.
I'm
That's
honored.
Awesome. That's awesome. Tell us about yourself. How did you come to be running for Lieutenant Governor? What's your background? I don't know how many people know much about you, so let's kind of jump in.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Missouri.
Okay.
I moved to Topeka, lived there for about 21 years.
Okay.
And I was in high-level sales.
Uh-huh.
And so I built a lot of relationships in my time out there. It was really something special. Kansas has been very good to me.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times, you know, you see the same people over and over again, and I don't think there's one bad person or one bad comment that anybody could make about me in my time, because I've always done what I said I was going to do. I always delivered on what I promised. So I went to work for Johnson Controls. Well, it wasn't Johnson Controls. It was actually Simplex Grinnell.
Okay.
And I became the #1 sales rep in the United States and in Canada as well. And I just did that on, building a team. It wasn't just me, because the quarterback could never get down the field by themselves.
Sure.
They need their team around them. So it was crucial. But I mean, you just help people get what they want. You listen and you help people get what they want. So moved to Baser in 2021, and Leavenworth County has been our home for the last 4 years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we really love it here. So my husband is a combat veteran. He served in Iraq back in 2004.
We definitely appreciate his service.
Thank you. He's something special. We started Kansas Patriots in 2020 when the election was stolen. And I do believe that it was. And so we had rallies at the Capitol steps for 4 years. And we provided a platform for patriots to be able to voice their concerns, and also for politicians, candidates that were running for office. So we were just all in. I mean, it could be 20 degrees below zero. We were there with several layers, of course. And we were met with some opposition. But we were always standing there. We always had our police. You know, we love our law enforcement. Always back the blue. We fought against the vaccine mandates, election integrity. There were a lot of things. You know, of course, we're very pro-life, but always keeping God at the center of everything that we do. So
that's amazing.
So I love people, and that's why I'm running.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're running with Doug.
Yes.
How did you guys get to know each other?
So Doug, his background in healthcare, you know, he goes and he'll tell his own story when he comes on.
And he'll be on next week.
Right. But he actually would put on determined patriotism conferences, and he had one down in Branson. And so my husband and I had not met him yet, but, you know, General Flynn was slated to be speaking. And then there was, you know, Devin Nunes and Alexander Stone, he's a young Gen Z podcaster. He's, you know, very well known. God bless you.
Thank you.
But there were a lot of patriots that were providing a lot of information over the course of a couple of days. So we went down there, we met him, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh, wow.
We actually he went out to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration when my husband and I went out. We attended the Liberty Ball and got to do all that fun stuff. It was an amazing time, but you know, just to be in the same room as the president. But Doug is he's a very solid individual. You never have to guess what he's thinking. He will always, always, always tell you, but there's also a side of him. He's very compassionate. He's a very compassionate man, and he's very honest. And, you know, my time in sales has made me has given me a lot of discernment and how to read people. So that's why I've decided to pair up with him.
Okay.
We've been in this fight for the last several years. This is not something that we just said, hey, I think this sounds like a good idea. There's other things that we could do, but we believe that Kansas, this is the time, this is the place, and it is now. And we have alignments that are being created, and it's just amazing. I mean, the minds that are involved in our campaign,
Hmm.
and just the great ideas that we want to get out there to the people. So
Sure.
something you haven't seen before. So,
Having been gone through the last election myself, running for county commissioner, I saw how
mhm.
divisive things can get and how difficult things can get.
Yeah.
And what I've heard, and someone yesterday I spoke to actually said that the rumor for Northeast Kansas is very, very brutal when you're running for office. And what I saw was a divide with a lot of people on the right and left. How do you bring people together? What's your guys' goal for bringing people together so that we can move Kansas forward together as one?
I think that is a great question. The things that bring us together, the document, the
Hmm.
Constitution, right? We do agree on life, liberty, and the
Hmm.
pursuit of happiness, right? So sometimes we got to clear out all the clutter, and we got to bring the airplane down to ground level again. And we just have to not always lead with feelings. We need to lead with logic, right?
Sure.
We need to be resilient and really look at the heart of people. People really want to do good. You don't get into politics and not have that desire. You want to make a change, right? So we need to focus on the things that bring us together. We need to bring prosperity and hope back to Kansas. Um, I like I said earlier, I love people,
Hmm.
and I think we spend a lot of time in, you know, our worlds have become vast.
Hmm.
God did not intend for us for our worlds to be that big. Sometimes we need to spend more time in the room with the people that we're with,
Sure.
and spend more time really trying to listen to their intention.
Hmm.
Instead of um, making it. I think there's a lot of ego
Yeah.
in politics, and it can be very transactional.
Sure.
What
I
can
would
you do for
completely agree with
me?
that.
And so, I think we need. I see myself as not a disruptor, but as a builder, a connector,
Hmm.
and I'm a protector. I really am. I mean, my husband being the veteran, I'm very protective. I'm always
Hmm.
looking out for him and my family. But that's how I am. So I just think we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So we need to just do more listening and less talking.
That's
So
great. I think I've said that a number of times as well. We spend so much time talking about things and anticipating what somebody else is going to say rather than hearing them and listening to what they're saying.
right,
And I also think that's how you bring people together. One of the big issues for our state is property tax.
yeah.
I hear this a lot. It's what put me into the campaign last time. It's
Hmm.
another reason that I'm running for city commission this time. Is what can we do about property tax at the state level to make life easier for Kansans? We've got there was a gentleman that I spoke to. He was in his 70s. He'd been here. He's a stalwart of this community, and he was telling me that he bought his house for like 60,000, and the property tax on it now because of the valuation was 4 times as much. Social Security's not going up, and so he really couldn't even afford to live here. And he's thinking about selling his house and
Hmm.
moving. And so it really broke my heart.
Yeah.
What can we do to make property tax more affordable, to reduce it, and not throw the baby out with the bathwater, like you know, just kind of cut everything out. But what can we do to make it more affordable?
I mean, it's kind of like, we have our business and then we have our home life. And running a home is also, I mean, there's business aspects of it.
Hmm.
When you're running tight, I mean, you've got to cut corners,
Sure.
right? I mean, I think a lot of us have been there at some point. Um, so I mean, I think the government also needs to do that. They probably need to do more with less. And we need to be better stewards of the people's money. Um, I don't think that I think in the Constitution, it talks about having things more uniform.
Hmm.
And that's not happening. I mean, there's, people that are taxed and unrealized capital gains. I mean, what
Sure.
they think that my house can sell for, and that's going to be my forever home.
Mhm.
That's not right. That's not right. And we've got people that are just picking up and moving to other states. I mean, my husband being a combat, service connected disabled veteran, when he lived in Texas, he didn't have to pay for property tax,
Oh, wow.
none. And so then he comes here and we're, paying over $12,000 a year in taxes.
Oh, wow.
So something has it's top heavy. And not only that, but it's slow and ineffective. People are just tripping over themselves trying to get things done at a snail's pace. And I know people were really disappointed when the property tax stuff that didn't go through.
Sure.
So they know that the legislators know that it's very, very crucial that we get something done like yesterday. I mean, people are overwhelmed. So
I think it's interesting because there's such a heavy conservative majority in the state Congress now
mhm.
that something wasn't able to get done. Why do you think that is?
I think we're all wanting to know that question.
Mhm.
I mean, because it's not like it just happened overnight.
Sure.
It's been going for a long time. And so I think I would like to know why it's not. Um, I mean, because they know that we're all very, we're all paying attention to
Mhm.
what's going on. That should have been the most important thing.
There
So
was two versions that they had talked about. The Senate had talked about a 3% cap,
yes, I
and the
know.
state had talked about a 5 to 6% rolling cap over, I think, 5 years.
hmm
Which of those do you think would have been more beneficial to the state, and which would you have supported?
I think the flat. What do you think? The
Well, I
the
agree.
three,
I
yeah,
agree. I think it's much easier. Computation is a 3%
yeah.
rather than trying to
hmm
put together some type of rolling.
Right.
But the House was very adamant about that. So I was just kind of curious where you kind of stood on that.
Yeah, I just think I almost wonder if it's even constitutional at all still.
Kind of also, some of the other things that we see is that we don't have a lot of businesses coming in. I mean, the last big win I think was the Panasonic battery factory, which is going to open, I think, here in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think, as Lieutenant Governor, you could draw in more businesses?
Well, that is something that I'm very passionate about because that is my background.
Hmm.
I have a solid business background. So I think we need to look at the industries that maybe are not affected so much by the changing times, the things that are always going to be consistent. We have, look at Pittsburgh with the
Hmm.
steel industry. I mean, what things can we do here in Kansas that's going to be bring good paying jobs, but I don't want to have the, I love our farmland. We
Hmm.
need to protect it. We feed this country.
Sure.
So we have to be very selective on the type of business that we bring to put, in the state. So um, I don't know. I would like to see bigger companies come in that have, our best interest, our economy at heart.
Hmm.
And we're giving a lot of tax breaks to a lot of big industry and the people aren't seeing the benefit of it.
Yeah. One of the big
So,
topics right now is RHID, the
yep.
basically the property tax abatement.
Yep.
Do you support that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if there's one failed piece of that, it could have long-term, decade-long ramifications. There's been some nationwide projects like that have taken place that have not had good returns on
Hmm.
it. I think rural economies, the schools, they're already it's kind of volatile already, and it can divert resources, tax revenue away from the schools when you have that funneled into the kind of developer.
Hmm.
It's kind of, I don't know, it just seems to really benefit the developers more than it does the people in the community. And you don't have, I mean, you take the risk of losing revenue. I still think it's people who are going to be workers, that are going to be moving in. But I'm not sold on it. I don't know that I really care for it at all.
So the developers in these situations, they do take a lot of risk as well, and I think a lot of that property tax abatement money goes
Hmm.
to putting in that infrastructure that isn't currently there.
Yeah.
Um, we have to do something to incentivize people to come in and do business here and develop. If we don't do something like RHID, do you have something in mind might take that place, or other ideas on how we can incentivize businesses to come?
I think probably getting the businesses to come to the county first,
Mhm.
I think is really important. I think you build things like that and then it comes. I mean, when my husband was living in Texas, I think Toyota came to the area. It was down in the Frisco area. And then you started to see the people moving down. There was tons of people, of course, moving from California and all that for those jobs, but like, I don't believe that putting a bunch of houses in a rural area is the answer. There's a broader solution that needs to happen with our economy. We have a lot of empty storefronts. We have a
We
lot of
do.
mom and pops that have shuttered up because of, the effects of COVID.
Mhm.
We need to figure out, this is like, we're in the Leavenworth area. So, I mean, it's the first city and I would really like to see it get back to its former glory. So, um, but I think if we do things to revitalize what we have, people will start to come here. Um, I know Baser's very, um, the city council has done a really good job
Going
managing.
super fast.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing, and they've always tried to protect, the citizens.
Mhm.
But we're paying a lot in taxes. Our schools get a lot of our tax money,
Sure.
a lot of our tax money. And we're excited to get our very first grocery store this November. But there's just not a lot of big business, and we need to change that. So that's what we need to focus on, I think, more than the housing at this moment. But
There's been a lot of talk about star bonds and the possibility of some of the greatest baseball and football teams coming to our state. What are your thoughts on that?
of course, I love Kansas City Chiefs. I've been at some very cold games with carpet underneath my feet, and you know, um, I love them. I would love to have them here. Um, I would like to continue to look more at the effects on the economy and the
Mhm.
infrastructure and all of that. But, before I would say I'm completely behind it. So, but yeah, I love the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm a diehard fan. So, um,
Senator Klemp has talked about trying to
mm,
use star bonds, and I think he wrote some some litigation or not litigation, did some work to apply star bonds to
mhm.
dilapidated malls areas, and bringing in um, some economic development to areas like that using those star bonds. Do you have an opinion on that?
Star bonds. So that is something that you know, it's an area that I need to learn more about.
Hmm.
Um, I I just always want to make sure that we're being good stewards with the money and always following the Kansas Constitution. So, um, I do. I think Senator Klemp is doing an amazing job. I think he's the best answer that we could have had for the community here. He's doing a fantastic job. So that's something that he and I will have more conversations about. With that. So.
Um, you had talked, and we kind of talked beforehand about some of the businesses that you would like to see in this area. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about there?
Yeah, of course, things like steel, things that the country needs. SpaceX would be amazing. I mean, we have a
Mm.
huge aerospace presence in Wichita. I think that would be great. Agricultural business would be wonderful. Um, just anything that I think would be very beneficial for the state itself, but good paying jobs. And I would like to see an emergence in trade schools too. I think that's very important. We have, great universities, but I think we also need our men and women to be learning trades. I think that is something that we really need here.
It's interesting you should say that. One of the things that we've seen, and I've seen Kellen Adams, the superintendent for Leavenworth, really push this is that CTE within the school systems and pushing kids to do more of those
Mm.
nursing or trades jobs, and finding ways that schools can work together to do that. Do you think the future really is in the trades?
Well, I think that they're, with Gen Z, which, they're an incredible generation. They're incredible. They're ready to get out there and
Hmm.
they just want the opportunities. They want to be able to buy a house. They want to have those opportunities. So those are discussions that we would like to have with like focus groups of Gen Zs to see if,
Hmm.
what types of industry they would like to see. So that those are things we're still uncovering.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't want to just put my ideas. I want to
Sure.
hear from them.
Okay.
It's their time. It's their time. Them, the millennials, this is their time. So I want to help bridge that and connect and find out more how we can help them. So,
Awesome. Before we kind of switch gears here,
mhm.
do you guys have any events? If people want more information about your campaign, what's the best way to reach out to you? If you want to
Sure.
let them know and kind of how they can find more out more about your campaign and Doug's campaign.
Thank you. DougBillingsforKansas.com. You can go on there. You can see the team and the pillars of the campaign. You can see our bios and learn a little bit more about us. And of course, there is a donate portion, which we'd be grateful for any, it's not ever really a fun thing to do is go out and ask for resources, but it is very important so that we can get our message out, and it just allows us to get in front of a lot more people and connect. So we have an event coming up in July. You can see that on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page, Doug Billings for Kansas, and Doug also has a podcast, The Right Side with Doug Billings. And you can also listen to him there. You can hear a lot of his views and everything. So, um, but Touche, I know we're having a fun night planned in Johnson County, and all those details are coming up. It's in July. So
Okay.
we'd love to see as many people there as possible.
Awesome. Well, we're
Yes.
happy to promote that on our Facebook page. If you want to get us those details when you have all of them,
Sure. And
we're
General
happy
Flynn's coming in October.
to.
So
Okay.
yeah, he's actually endorsed us, and
Okay.
he's coming in for a wonderful evening that we're going to have in Lewisburg, I believe at the English Barn, October 25th. So details are coming.
Now, how crowded is the field right now? Are you guys the first to file, or who else
I
has filed?
I didn't know we had any competition.
Great answer.
We are the ones that have filed. We have the skin in the game.
Awesome.
So I know that there are others that have treasures, but Doug and I think I'm the only lieutenant governor so far announced. And yeah, we've actually filed for the office. So we're
That's
in
awesome.
it to win it. So
It's winning. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, so now we're going to kind of switch. We're going to kind of switch to, what is on your mind? What are you thinking about lately? Not maybe not politically related, but personal, fun, just a little more lighthearted. And I will start here to make this easy on you.
Thank you.
I am super excited that Jack Caglione, the number 6 draft pick, is going to make his debut
Mhm.
for Kansas City
I
tonight
know.
against the Cardinals. So we're
Yeah,
really excited, hopefully, to see him hit home runs at the major league level and not just at the minor league level.
that's great.
Um, I know my family is super excited about it. We're avid Royals fans as well as Chiefs fans. As soon as my son heard that, he was texting me about it the other day, and he's like, "They're finally calling him up." So we're excited to see that.
I was there, really dating myself. So we're going to jump back to 1985
Okay.
when they won the Western Division
Uh-huh.
at Kauffman Stadium.
Okay.
I was there.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting in general admission, but I remember, there was George Brett
Hmm.
and, all of them. And it was just an amazing time. It was amazing time. I mean, general admission that night, it was just completely wild. But fast forward to now, I love my Kansas City Chiefs. I
Hmm.
watch a lot of football.
Okay.
I mean, not just the Chiefs, I watch a lot of football. So, this could probably be a side job for me. I have a 22-year-old son, and Jack is he should probably have a profession in football. He is like an encyclopedia. So
Yeah.
I ask him questions all the time, and I really enjoy it probably more than a lot of things.
Now you said your husband was an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's he I give him a hard time. It's always good times, when Super Bowl comes around, and I was a good sport this last year. I don't think he was so much a couple of years ago. But
I went to the game in Philly the last time they played in Philly.
really.
I did. We were living in New Jersey at the time,
Oh,
and I went to my Chiefs gear, which many of my friends told me not to do.
uh-huh.
I went with my neighbor, and it was brutal being a Chiefs fan in that stadium. I've always felt like we've been welcomed other people at Arrowhead, regardless of who they are, what team they're rooting for. We've
Yeah,
sat with some amazing Jaguars fans. We've had, great conversations. It's never been confrontational, but I can't tell you at the Eagles Stadium how confrontational it was the whole time I was there.
really.
Yes, it was not the city of brotherly love. Let me tell you that, especially
Yeah.
if you were a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, the Chiefs, like I said earlier, I've been to some really cool games. So, I've learned, I think we just got a new tight end, didn't we?
And they signed one from undrafted
Yeah.
from Clemson, I believe.
Yes, and I was watching the film well, not film. I mean, this is date, we're in the
Mhm.
now, but watching YouTube, he looks like he's going to be pretty good. When
We can hope.
time comes, yeah, I think he'll be good. I remember when I saw Patrick Mahomes, one of his first games, and he threw a pass and it didn't get where he had intended, and he was just kind of like, oh well.
Mhm.
And I told my husband and my son, I said, watch this guy. He is going to be something very special because he was having fun. When you can have that sense of you can step back and say, things like that are going to happen. And he just went out and he just kept going. And look at him now. I
I
mean,
know.
I think best quarterback that's ever
Easily.
lived.
Easily.
Yeah.
Shout out to Patrick Mahomes. If you ever want to be on the show, let us know.
He is amazing.
Well, April, thank you for your time. Thank you
I'm
for being here.
honored.
We're honored to have you on the show. And next week we will have Doug Billings, and we'll
Mhm.
talk to him, continue this conversation. For
Thank you.
now, have a great week. You did a great job.
I did?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
super